Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the weekly Daily podcast. Today is Tuesday, May 16th. I'm finally back in Denver. It's good to be here. Good to be back. It's a nice, warm spring day, which is nice. Usually it's very cold in here, and I've got long pants and a hoodie and a jacket, but today I'm wearing shorts and tube socks. Hopefully the video doesn't look too awkward with my pale legs, but let me know. Let me know in the comments. Are my legs pale? Actually, don't. That's weird. Don't do that. Drinking some coffee. It's the morning. The birds are chirping outside. I live right beside the pool, and they just uncovered the pool to start treatment, and all the water is green. It's very nice. Really tempting to jump in to a green pool, you know? No, but it's good to be here. Like I said, got back to Denver last week after the month-long trip in on the East Coast through a couple states there. So excited to be back. A lot going on here. So excited to be back. I'm excited to kind of work through stuff here, spring to summer. The internet has been out. I think it just came back on. Xfinity is really a bummer. It was out last night, and 12 hours later this morning, they sent me a text, and they go, "We've noticed that there's been an outage in your area." And you're like, yeah, did it take you that long to notice? That's pretty disconcerting. But here we are. They sent a text. They said it just came back on. I'm not sure if that's true. I haven't gotten to test it out yet. I'm filming from my phone, so we'll see if the Wi-Fi is working. Got some new headphones here. Lost my headphones. Real bummed out. I usually don't lose things, but had to run over to Walmart, grab some headphones. So here we are. The headphones are not necessary with podcasting, but they're pretty necessary for me. It allows me to hear my own voice, which isn't totally necessary, but what that does is it drowns out surrounding noise. So my neighbor upstairs, people walking right by, it's too weird to talk to yourself and hear everybody around you potentially hearing you talk to yourself, which is an odd thing to do. So got the headphones, we're all set, got the coffee. Pete's coffee, medium roast. What do you guys like for coffee? Pete's is kind of my go-to. I like Pete's. I've been trying to do light roast and medium roast a little bit more. Testing those out. It's hard to find light roast. There's not many options. It's mostly dark, a couple medium, not many light roast. But let me know in the comments if you guys have a coffee brand that you like. I try to switch it up sometimes, but it's a little overwhelming when you look at a million different things, and then you can stand there for 30 minutes reading stuff, and you're like, okay. I don't really know. You can usually with products take a look at ingredients, or maybe the packaging is clear for like lunch meat, or I don't know, certain things where you can see it and you go, that looks better. And then also if you look at the ingredients, you can tell. But with coffee, you're like, it's just like beans and then a country. And then you're just judging coffee based on the country, which you shouldn't do that, you know? You see this country and you're like, I don't know anything about your coffee. All I know is that I've seen a little bit of you on the news and there's a war going on. So how good can the coffee be if artillery is in the air? Maybe better. I don't know. It could be better. Let me know. No, but like I said, back in Denver, good to be here. Had the long drive from Ohio, from Akron. Last week, it was about 21 hours. I split it up into 2 days. I did about 12 No, I did about 13, I guess, on the first day, and about 7 or 8 on the second day. I think I stopped around Topeka, Kansas was my stopping point. I tell you what, I forgot about weather. You live in Denver for a while, you got a lot of sun, and occasionally you get snow, which is weather, but it's a different kind of, like if it's snowing real hard or whatever, you usually don't drive. You know it's going to snow usually if you're, paying attention at all. But on the East Coast, or actually coming through like Kansas and all that stuff, the rain, the thunderstorms, driving in that is super sketchy. There were multiple times that I went through patches of thunderstorms, and it was like very heavy rain, so you can hardly see. So that makes it very sketchy. Obviously, water on the road. You're going very slow because you can't see real well, and also there's a lot of water. You don't want to hydroplane. But then you get there were moments that I went through hail, which there's hail here in Colorado, but it's few and far between, and it's also a little bit different. I feel like there's not like intense thunderstorms. It's like it comes, it's like 10 minutes. It comes and it goes. But there it was like I was going through a lot of it, and the hail was coming down so hard in some moments that I thought the windshield and like my sunroof was going to crack and break. It was pretty sketchy. I pulled over one time under a bridge for the first time in a long time. But it was also, that's like Tornado Alley, I think. I don't know where Tornado Alley is, but I'm pretty sure Kansas and some of the Midwest there are kind of flat lands and hot spots for tornadoes. So you're driving through this stuff and it's super bad storms, and then I'm also like sketched out because it's dark, and you're like, I would have no idea if a tornado was coming. Because also with the storm you get wind, and you're like, is this just storm wind? Is this tornado wind? We'll find out if my car goes airborne. Fortunately, it did not. Made it all the way back. Like I said, I think I stayed in Topeka area. I stayed in, it was funny because in Akron, I stayed in like the sketchiest hotel ever. It was like $65 a night. And then in Topeka, I stayed in like a pretty nice, I think, Courtyard Marriott or something. That was, I don't know, it was probably only $120 or something, but I was only there from like 11 p.m. to 7:30 a.m., literally just to sleep. So it's kind of funny how I did that. Actually, it's not funny. It's kind of stupid. But I thought they might have breakfast. They didn't have breakfast. It was one of those like nicer hotels that had a breakfast bar, but you had to pay. Which is always like, come on, man. Come on. Give me a bagel. Give me some of those hockey disc eggs you got going on back there. But that was a long drive. It's good to be back. The car was making some noises. It still is a little bit, but it made it back. No issues. I'll have to get it checked out. I don't think it's a big issue. I'm assuming it's maybe like a belt or something that is getting older and is due for a change. And when I say I'm assuming it's a belt, I have zero idea. I'm not a mechanic. I'm super bad with cars. I'm very bad. I wish I was better. I think most people it'd be nice to have some basic skill sets. The last car I had was like a 98 Honda Civic. And it was a real bummer because it only had like 170,000 miles on it, which is a lot, but also, you can usually get 250, 300,000 out of those. And it had like a little issue, and I don't know what the issue was. And the car was probably only worth like $1,000 anyways. So an issue came up, and I was like, it's probably going to cost more to repair this than the car is worth. So I ultimately fiddled around, tried to figure it out myself. I changed a couple spark plugs. I was like, that'll do it, If you don't know what's going on, just pop a couple spark plugs in there. And that did not do it. And I think I tried a couple other things and ultimately called it a loss. I called one of those companies and said, come pick it up. It's yours. Didn't even try to sell it. it lost the acceleration and kind of lost the ability to move. So I don't know what was going on, but I feel like it wasn't that big of an issue, but also it was way bigger than I was able to deal with. So I ended up getting a new car. That's when I got the Honda Fit. But boy, if you have some skill sets and knowledge, you can really save some money. And I do not have that skill set or knowledge. But yeah, what have I been up to since getting back? Been pretty busy and active, going out, trying to, like I was saying in some of the past podcasts, trying to work through some new material and new jokes and really work on kind of building a new 10 or whatever to just keep pushing forward and getting better material, replacing material that's not as good, and then just building on the long set in general. So that's been good. I've been going out. When did I get back? I got back like last Monday or Tuesday. So about a week ago. I've been hitting up mics. I went to, I didn't have any shows scheduled last week, but it was nice. I went and just kind of hung out at like 3 shows and got guest spots at all of them, which was nice. So I got to get some show stage time. Did Western Sky on Thursday, then Chain Reaction on Friday, which is a super fun show. That's one that I think has been going for like 10 years, and I've gone a couple times, and it's a very good show. Like the crowd, it fills out, and the crowd is just super excited and there to see comedy, which is ultimately what you want. But that was fun. And then the next day, Friday or Saturday, a buddy was at the Denver Comedy Lounge, so I went and stopped to just hang out and got a guest spot, which was cool. So it was nice to be. That's like a very fun club. It's like a 75-person club, super cool, like atmosphere vibe. So that was awesome. I always tell myself, like, just go, I want to go to mics and build new material, but also at this point, like 5 years in, it's important to go support shows and show face. And that's just kind of part of the thing. You want to be supportive, and it also, sometimes turns in guest spots, and also part of, as much as it stinks to like have to play the game rather than just like, hey, just do jokes and then be funny and you'll get booked. A lot of it is kind of the networking side or just showing face, which makes sense. So got to be better at doing that. But that was the weekend. Then I went to an open mic on Sunday, and yesterday was Monday. Went up to the Comedy Fort for their up in Fort Collins to do their open mic, which is always super fun. That's a club up there, and they do a weekly open mic, which always draws a good crowd and gives you a good opportunity to, test your jokes in front of like kind of a show type atmosphere to get good feedback, whether your jokes are good or not. So did that, then went to Irish Rover after. And now it's Tuesday. And I've got some stuff coming up this week. I'm actually going back up to the Comedy Fort on Thursday for, I think, a showcase there. And Saturday, I've got a couple shows that I'm looking forward to in Denver. So yeah, excited for that. Really trying to work in a lot of this new stuff into some shows. Obviously, I don't want to perform poorly, but really want to push myself and work through new material and work it into shows and really force myself into a position where I have to get these jokes as good as possible and figure it out. So excited for that. I've got some shows toward the end of the month. Do I? I think I've got. I think on the 25th, I'm going out to Colorado Springs doing a show at Looney's Habitual Offenders, which should be fun. I'm excited for that one as well. That's a very fun club, and from what I've heard, always a very fun show. So excited to do that. And then beginning of June, going to Winter Park, doing a festival, the Winter Park Comedy Festival. So excited for that as well. I know I've said it before. I say excited way too much, but I'm excited. What can you do? It's spring. It's good weather. Comedy. People laughing. Sometimes they don't laugh. Bombing's exciting too. It's not like a fun exciting, but you come off stage and you're like, whoo, I feel something. I feel it. It is nice weather though. Since coming back, I have golfed twice, which has been good. There's a couple comedian buddies that golf, and I'll get out there some, which is always fun. I grew up golfing. I was very obsessed with it throughout like high school. Played golf in high school, and after college, once I started working and stuff, really didn't play as much. I'd play once or twice a year maybe, but with lack of time and just costs and everything like that, really fell off. But I've been playing a little bit more. It's nice to have some comedian buddies who play golf. And also, a lot of the public courses around are like $35-$40 to play 18, which really is pretty reasonable compared to a lot of courses that I've played. And we walk. I usually walk, so you don't have an extra $15 or so to ride in a cart. So it's been pretty affordable. It's been fun. I've been playing well or decent, which is nice. I think one of the reasons one of the many reasons that I didn't play as much is I just really stunk. I started not playing well and trying to change my swing when I wasn't practicing much and just playing poorly. But yeah, I've kind of gone back to the basics a little bit and played a little bit smarter, hitting irons off the tee instead of driver all the time and keeping it in play and just kind of going back to the basics, trying not to hit balls out of bounds or in hazards, keeping it in play and just swinging a little bit more simply. And it's been good. Been playing well. I think the last 3 times I played, I shot like 79, 76, and 82 yesterday. It was like raining. It was pretty, not really bad conditions, but there were some elements at play. So in 82, I felt decent about. But yeah, like for a decade. I mean, when I was in high school, I got down to like a 2 handicap. So a lot of times I played all the time. That was like my obsession. So I'd shoot like mid 70s most of the time. But after that, over like the last 10 years, I mean, I hadn't broken 80 in probably at least a decade. Most of the times it was like mid 80s. I mean, I was shooting like low 90s some. So, I mean, it was just not that fun, like hitting balls in the woods constantly and not knowing where the ball was going. But breaking 80 felt good for sure. So excited to, I don't want to get too into it as far as playing every day again because money and time and all that stuff. But it's cool to have some buddies who are also doing it so you can go out and have fun hanging out with buddies and also playing well. Certainly makes it fun as well. So we talked about maybe starting like a comic league. I don't know how many comics would be interested. There's plenty of comics who play, so that could be something that would be fun, and it's always fun to like get together with your community in cohorts in comedy and do stuff other than comedy. So we'll see about that. Let's see what else I got on here. I wrote down a couple things. I've been I ramble a lot on here and it's whatever, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit more on topic somewhat if I run out of rambling. And I just looked over and the next topic is a sad one. It says balding. I'm balding. I've talked about it before. My hair is getting very thin. And, it's something that I've known. I've been waiting for it. Everybody in my family on my mom's dad's side bald by 30. So I'm coming up on 35 and I'm hanging in there. So I'm doing better. I shouldn't even complain. My younger brother is much balder or more receding or whatever, I think, than I am. But it is funny where like I've been waiting for it. I've known about it. I've kind of seen it recede and thin a little bit over the years, but it feels like in the last 6 months I'm like really looking in the mirror going, wow, it is thin. And it feels like it's going, like this is the year where you're like, it's leaving me. And so the realization, it's easy to like think about it like it's going to be something that happens, but you just block it out because you're like, it hasn't happened yet. But now it's kind of like, it feels like it's happening. So, it's just what it is. I think I've talked about it before where like doing comedy, part of me is like, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I don't, like, if I didn't do comedy, then it's like, it is what it is. Just shave it, look weird, whatever. We're all human beings and we all have things about us that we're all unique and different, and some things you might not like, but at the end of the day, you're like, it is what it is. But with comedy, part of me wonders if I lose my hair and have kind of this weird look, if that's going to force me into talking about the weird look a lot, which is fine, but also I want to do just kind of like regular comedy that's relatable to kind of everybody. And so I don't want to get pushed into like a corner where it's like, oh, I got to talk about looking weird like an alien and balding and blah, blah, blah. So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, again, it is what it is. What can you do? I can pay 10 grand and have hair surgery. Will that work? Maybe, maybe not. I can wear a wig. That'd probably be cheaper than 10 grand. Wear a ball cap. I have been thinking about buzzing or cutting it shorter. I don't know. Every time I look in the mirror, I kind of want to cut it shorter just to kind of see what it looks like shorter, see what the roots look like, how thin they look like when it's shorter. And also just kind of like, if it's inevitable, which it is, and if it's going to happen, might as well kind of get used to the look and just talk about, I have a buddy who is also bald. He's a comedian. He's like, just cut it off, dude. Just buzz it off. You'll have 6 days of people making fun of you, then they won't care. I'm like, all right, 6 days. Less than a week. I doubt it, but who cares? Yeah, it's one of the, we can worry about what, like, it's one of those things that I never really understood. I totally don't understand the whole LA, like, cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery, stuff. I get that you want to look more attractive, but a lot of those surgeries, you don't look more attractive. I don't know who is out there perpetuating, like, letting people know, oh, this looks good. It looks good for you to have these, like, massive lips and look like a duck, and then it looks good for you to be 80 years old and have, like, this tight skin face because you've gotten so many, like, wrinkle reduction or whatever. It's like, no, that looks unnatural. You look like a creep. You look crazy. You're 80. You should look a little wrinkly. I don't get it. Yeah, it's like, hey, I mean, I get it. These people, especially out there, it's like this whole culture of Hollywood and blah, blah, blah. But just as an individual, we're all different. And like I said, at the end of the day, you just got to accept who you are. It's like, I can look in the mirror every day and be like, punch my face because I hate my lips or whatever. But you go, look, my lips are a little more plump than some. Okay. What am I going to do about it? Cry? Cut them off? You just go, all right. It is what it is. When I lose my hair, it's going to be a tiny head, big lips, and no hair. And it's going to be a little weird. But that's what I look like. So there's my little rant on plastic surgery. Never really understood it. Don't get it. I remember I used to watch The Hills. And before that, I think it was Laguna Beach. You guys remember that? MTV, 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 era. And there was a character, Lauren. So Lauren, one of the main characters. Very pretty. Lauren Conrad. She had a friend on there. What was her name? Her name, I think, was Heidi. Married to Spencer. And Heidi, as a natural figure, very pretty. Her nose was like a little bit bigger, but I thought, it's one of those things where you're like, that's who you are. She looked fine. And then she got a million surgeries. Like if you look her up, Heidi something, before and after, it's truly sad, because you can tell, like, at a certain point she starts getting more and more surgeries. It's like a mental addiction. And oh man, it's sad just being like, oh, you changed yourself in a way you can't change back. Like, you looked very pretty. You were you. And now you made yourself into a fake you. I don't know. To each their own. You know what? It's America. You have the freedom to do that. I'm not anti people doing what they want. But I'm not a fan of the look of it. So just know, Heidi, if you ever divorce Spencer, I'm not interested, okay? You probably have a lot of money. That's probably cool. But I'm also not really interested, or I'm definitely not interested in people because of their money. There's like a mower right outside my window. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's very loud. I don't know why it's right by the window, because there's no grass here. But, yeah, working through stuff. Like I said, working through new jokes. I've got quite a few that I've been writing on over the last month. And it's, obviously you can only kind of test out so much at a time. A lot of these open mics, if you're not familiar, which is where you kind of go test the material and practice it, are like 3 or 4 minute sets. Best case scenario, there's a couple that are 5, but I've got maybe 6-ish different premises and topics that I'm working through. And each of them pretty much fill out that time. So I'm kind of working through one by one. It's going to take a minute. It's going to take a little while to get through all of them. So right now I'm currently working on a bit about tornadoes, coincidentally. I think I talked about that earlier. I can't even remember. But, I think there's something there. It's not the funniest thing ever, but I'm trying to whittle it down to just the best bit I can. And at the end of the day, if it's good enough to kind of do in the set, I'll put it in there. If not, I'll whittle it down to the best I can, and I'll have it kind of set aside and ready to look at maybe in a couple months, or ready to pull pieces from if I can add it to other things. So doing that, have a couple other bits that are shorter and I feel pretty good about. And then I've got some stories and things that I'm working on, but like I said, haven't got to yet. I'm trying to kind of, it takes probably a week or so for each of these bits to kind of say it out loud, memorize it, say it in the cadence and beats that you want to say it. And then also you're kind of changing and adding, erasing certain parts of the joke as you go through to try to, make it as good as possible. So it'll take a minute, but I will say, I think it's good. It's been good having a bunch of these bits that I'm kind of working through. So it's in my head, and I kind of, you've been looking at it, thinking about it, saying it. So you have it loosely in your head, which is good going to stage. And when you're trying it for like the first time or first couple of times, you kind of have it somewhat memorized or fairly memorized. Versus in the past, what I've done a lot of times is I've like written something, and like 2 hours later, I'll go try it out immediately. before I have it memorized, before I've thought it through. And I mean, that's okay. I've said this before, but I would rather go to an open mic and just bomb with some whatever material than just do the same material and jokes that I already have finished and know work at an open mic. It's like I'm not interested in doing my best stuff at an open mic. Open mics are for practice and to get better and to work new material in. So that just makes me feel crummy. So I would rather just bomb with new material. But one thing with that is I think I got into a bad habit of taking new material too quickly to the stage where I didn't have it memorized, and then you kind of try this clunky thing out and then get discouraged quicker than you typically would. So having it memorized a little bit better before taking it to stage gives you a chance to kind of talk it through and work the bit out a little bit more, and then present it in a better way from the get-go, which then you can maybe get feedback about, like, okay, I said it, I had it better, it was more memorized, I had it down in my head a little bit better, so I presented it better and maybe got some laughs or a better reaction to make it a little bit more encouraging. Boy, is that mower loud. Like I said, I don't know where they are, but it sounds like he's mowing my window. Doesn't he know? Okay. He should know. The weekly daily podcast is recording. Okay, I need silence in the immediate area. No, but working on that joke about tornadoes. Also, what other bits do I have? I have a story that I've tried in the past, and I haven't been able to get it, but I'm excited this time because I feel like I've reworked some stuff, added some things, and I feel like I've got a shot at making it good. But it's about a story about going deep sea fishing with my brother and his group of friends for his bachelor party, and it was just a very odd experience, and there were multiple natural things that were just funny parts. And I've gotten a couple things written down and some actual punchlines in there. And as I've said before, it's a story, so stories are just really tough to. I've figured out one story that is my closer, and I feel very good about that. It's, I think, a very good joke, but one story. I figured out one story in 4.5 years. One story I've been able to crack the code on and make good. Because as I've said in the past, ultimately, most stories, what happens is you try to make it into a joke, and you get maybe part of it funny, and then ultimately you just make it a bit. Meaning, instead of this full story start to finish, you just like condense down to the 30 seconds that's funny. So like just a little sliver of the story, and then I'll take that and add it to like something else that relates to that same topic and make it a bit. So yeah, figured out one, but this one I feel close. Like I've got I've got definitely some laugh parts in there. Obviously got to make it where it's consistently getting laughs. And then, as I've said in the past, with stories, I've realized you got to have a kind of a start that engages people, like an initial thing that gets people to go, "Ooh, we want to listen to what you have to say." So an interesting part. Then obviously through it, you got to have jokes, and then an ending. That ending, I'm realizing more and more, is super important. And I have like kind of an ending in mind. I don't know that it's going to be the thing that works. The other story that I said I figured out, for a while I didn't have an ending, and I was trying an ending that kind of worked, and it was kind of a callback to another joke, and I was like, oh, but ultimately I figured something else out that wraps the story up. People laugh, and people also understand, like, oh, he's finished the story, and now it's my closer. So usually they're like, oh, that they'll laugh, they'll clap, and kind of understand, like, oh, he's put a bow tie on the end of his set. So that's worked out well. So that's another thing I'm working on. A handful of different topics, just talking about dating, talking about college, a handful of things, trying to do things that are relatable to everybody, which is kind of a silly thing to say. That's what everybody's trying to do, but trying to be more conscious of topics and things that like, hey, this is going to hit for a 22-year-old and a 72-year-old. Get them all laughing. It's a tough thing, though. I've been watching some comedy specials recently. Trying to watch more, listen to more, pick up on the best who are doing it. Study that and try to take little nuggets of things that they're doing and implement that. Just saw John Mulaney's special, which a lot of people have said they loved, other people not so much. It was kind of okay, I thought. And then the last 20 minutes was like very funny. It was an hour and 10 minutes. So like the first 45, 50 minutes is kind of like, And then it ended very strong, but that's a long way to go before getting to the strong stuff. But good friends and people that watch a lot of comedy, and I respect quite a bit as far as like they know what good comedy is. They're like, it was incredible. But, comedy's subjective. That's the whole thing. That's why, you'll do shows sometimes and people will come up and go, you were my favorite. I loved you. And then you'll do other shows and they'll say that to the person beside you. And then they'll look at you and awkwardly walk away and not even acknowledge that you were on the show. Which is great. It's great. Ultimately, you want to try to get everybody. That's the goal. But at the end of the day, some people, you're going to walk on stage and before you open your mouth, they're going to go, I hate your big-lipped, balding head. And they don't even, as soon as you start talking, all they see is your bald hair, bald head, no hair. They just go, we don't like this guy's voice. And it is what it is. You can't change that, Have they been able to change? Is that a procedure you can get? A surgery to change your voice? It probably is. That'd be wild to be so upset with your voice that you're like, can you go in and start scratching up my vocal cords? Try to make me sound different. Any other jokes I'm working on? I've got a bunch of stuff I got to get done. It's never ending. It's a lot of juggling, a lot of work. Like I said, with golfing and in nice weather, wanting to get outside more, exercise, like it's really tough to balance everything. Because not only is it like trying to write jokes and go practice those jokes and do shows and then work, exercise, try to eat healthy. It's a bunch of behind the scenes stuff of like, hey, I got to edit videos and then I got to submit dates and availabilities to like clubs and email places and try to set up shows. And it's great. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But it is a lot of stuff. And you're like, woo. It's a lot. Speaking of food, that last week, the last week of the East Coast run that I was doing was not eating super healthy. On my drive home, I did not eat great. It was just quick stuff. I think I drove and I got a Blizzard from Dairy Queen, which I don't know if I've had a Blizzard in the last decade, but for some reason I was like, this will probably be a good idea to keep me alert and awake on the highway, eating 200 grams of sugar. That's got to be a good idea. So I did that, then I ate Subway. Then the next morning, I got some egg bites from Starbucks, which I don't know if you guys have had those, but as much as I hate to say it, they are delicious. They are very good. probably healthier than the Blizzard, I'm sure, but I don't know how healthy they are ultimately. Um, and then that might have been all I ate until I got home. But now that I'm home, I'm working on getting back into a solid diet. Went to the grocery store, got a bunch of veggies and meat and just healthier stuff. So trying to get back in the routine of eating healthy, cooking my own food, and exercising to stay mentally healthy. I've said it before, but it's difficult to do all the things that I just mentioned and balance everything as far as the workload and going on stage and trying to be funny and being in the moment. It's tough to do all that stuff in general, but it's even harder when you're not being healthy, not treating your mind and body in a healthy way, to where you're feeling more anxious or more whatever. Just the more chaos in your mind and body, the more difficult it is to do all the other things and be funny and write jokes and be in the right headspace to deal with things as they come. Because comedy, a lot of it is being in the moment. We try to write the best jokes we can, but also you're up on stage and things happen. People shout things. People are not paying attention, whatever the case is. And the more in the moment you are, the more you're able to deal with all those interactions and be the best that you can be. What is that? The Marines logo? Army logo? What was that? Is that still the logo? Be the best that you can be. Be the best obstacle course individual that you can be. Oh boy, that's cold. Obstacle courses. It's been a minute since I've done one of those. I remember in elementary school, there was like the spring fling, I think it was, and they would do an obstacle course. When you're a kid, obstacle courses are like, something about doing an obstacle course is like pretty cool. I don't know why. As a kid, we put so much. You don't have much going on, so you put like a lot of. You put a lot of pressure and a lot of enjoyment or whatever into being good at like silly things. Like we used to run laps during recess. Like we had to run a couple laps, and there'd be like all the guys. It's just like a bunch of second graders, and like there was so much pressure and respect on the people who ran the laps the fastest. It didn't matter at all. It was just like run a couple laps. That's part of just, I don't know, kids getting exercise or whatever. But we'd run like it meant a lot. And kids in class, they'd be like, Dexter, he finished the laps first. He's cool. We respect Dexter, okay? He ran that blacktop very quickly. Okay? So, you don't talk bad about Dexter. We used to do the presidential fitness award, presidential fitness stuff. They don't do it anymore, but they used to. It was like a collection of things that they had parameters for, like, did you meet the president's requirements or like his goals? And that was always funny. It was the mile, pull-ups, sit-ups, the V-sit reach. I think that might be it. So, like, if you could run the mile a certain time, if you could do a certain amount of pull-ups, a certain amount of sit-ups in a minute, and then the V-sit reach, like, how flexible you are, which is hilarious. That's like a very funny one. Because it's like quickness, strength, core strength, and then it's just like, are your hamstrings tight or not? Which I guess flexibility generally comes with activity and movement, but also just some people are more flexible than others. So it's kind of a weird parameter that they were judging. But they used to give out little like plaques or little awards for people who did that, which is funny. Nowadays, No more of that. There hadn't been a president. Actually, there's probably never been a president who could even do the fitness goals that they put out for all these kids. I know not many presidents are running an 8-minute mile and doing 15 pull-ups and sit-ups and stretching. I don't know. We've really kind of gone off into an area where you go, what are we talking about? And who is listening to this? And if you are, thank you. But let me know in the comments. Is this interesting? Presidential Fitness Award? Let me know in the comments. Have you heard The Mower, the entire episode? I'm going to end it there. Thanks for tuning in. But honestly, if you have listened to this point, please comment. Please comment. I've asked this a couple of times. Comment in general if you'd like. But also comment, leave a comment on what you want to hear more about. If there's anything you want to hear more about, if this format is okay, or if there's a different format you like, a different subject, whether it's more comedy stuff, more personal stuff, more lawnmowers in the background, whatever you'd like to hear, let me know. Leave a comment. But yeah, like I said, I'll end it there. Thanks so much for listening this week, and I'll see you guys again next week.